So, so Pro Football Focus had this thing last week, and I like Pro Football Focus. I think they like Baker Mayfield way too much. They don't like Aaron Rodgers enough. But be that as it may, they finally come around on Russell Wilson. But it's interesting because they didn't have Aaron Rodgers in their top 50. And that got a lot of ire. I do have him in my top 50, but it's a list, whatever, it's opinion and some data. But it's interesting, and I said this earlier about Aaron Rodgers. Martellus Bennett. This weekend, Aaron came out, solidarity with players on Instagram. It was a cool picture. Martellus Bennett took a shot at him. A couple years ago, he gives $1 million to firefighters. His brother comes out and takes a shot at him. Generally, people do not like to go public with their beefs with superstars. I can go 8, 9, 10 people deep that have ripped him publicly. I don't think he's eroding physically, but there is something with Aaron, Bucky, in the personality, the DNA here, that makes people willing to publicly criticize him. I don't know what it is, but is it possible the Jordan Love draft pick was that front office saying, you're wearing us out too?
I think it could be a couple of different things. Sometimes when you're a franchise quarterback and all of the pressure is on you to kind of lead your team to the winner's circle, you certainly take on a different personality when it comes to how you lead, your leadership style, the way that you manage your teammates, and even the coaches. I think we have seen that, look, Aaron Rodgers is a high achiever. And sometimes high achievers can grind on others to make them, to try and help them play at his level. And so we've seen a lack of patience maybe with some of the younger players. We've seen them call out the wide receivers and those things. But look, man, I come from an era where when you play with Jim Kelly, they called you out. You play with Dan Marino, they called you out. That's just kind of how quarterbacks lead in some locker rooms. I will say this about the Packers. I think the move that they made to get Jordan Love was part of continuing to have stability at the most important position in football. The Green Bay Packers have largely been a contender over the last 20 years, 30 years really, because they went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. If Jordan Love can give them the kind of play that Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre gave them respectively, he ensures that the Packers franchise will always be one of the heavyweight contenders in the National Football League. I think it's good for business to get a young quarterback before you have to go get the quarterback.
So I had this discussion with Gerald McCoy, and I've had it with various people, players, and reporters. Drew Brees. When you win, a lot of things are forgiven. You go on a 3-game losing streak, the truth comes out. My hunch is the Saints are really good, and Drew Brees and the Saints, any agendas or grudges we don't hear about during the season. That's my guess. Your thoughts on Brees, his apology, the situation, and what transpires going forward for that franchise?
You know, Colin, this wouldn't be a big controversy with the Saints if we weren't involved in kind of like this virtual reality that we're living in. Because the thing about the locker room has a natural checks and balances system where guys can call each other out when they feel like a teammate has stepped out of the team fabric. Now, let me be clear. Players are okay with players having different opinions. It's not Drew Brees' opinion and affinity for the flag that kind of rubbed his teammates the wrong way. It was his dismissal of their feelings and the fact that others may feel differently about the flag. The beautiful thing about the locker room, you have a bunch of different people from different perspectives that come together with one common goal. And you don't have to disagree politically. Your religious beliefs don't have to align. Other things don't have to be in alignment. But what you have to be able to do is have the respect for your teammates to the right and to the left. And in Brees' comments, it didn't appear that he had the respect for his teammates. That's why they were quick to challenge him. That's why they kind of rebuked him in a public arena. But it's also why they can continue to love him, because it's a checks and balances system that operates in the locker room.
You know, I've always trusted your opinion on, because you were a scout for the Panthers and the Seahawks and helped build those franchises, and you played the game. So ESPN had some list yesterday of they took all the draft order from last year and said, if you were drafting every player in the NFL, who would you take? and Drew Lock was 15th. Now, there was a lot of pushback on it. But I have said, if you go back to Wentz, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson's rookie years, they weren't spectacular. They made a massive jump to be MVP-level players in year 2. My prediction is Drew Lock is capable of that. In fact, his stats are a little better than Lamar's were in that short period of time playing. Go back to your scouting summary of Drew Lock. I think he's going to pop this year and be a really high-end player. Did you like him? What do you like? What do you not like? How does he work with Denver going forward?
He's one of my favorite young quarterbacks. He's one of my favorite young quarterbacks since I watched him progress in high school. You have to remember that Drew Lock didn't play quarterback year-round. Drew Lock is an accomplished basketball player who had legitimate D1 offers to play hoops. So in the offseason, when everyone is on the 7-on-7 circuit, he is playing basketball at a high level. He didn't really become a full-time quarterback till he got to Missouri. So you're talking about 2, maybe 3 off seasons of really mastering the position. What I really like about Drew Lock, big-time arm talent, great athlete, very good athlete. The basketball skills translate onto the grass. He is an even better connector. His ability to relate with his teammates will bring him into the fold. His guys will want to play for him because he is really a guy that connects. He has a chemistry and a coolness about him that players like. We saw in brief action for the Broncos, he has game. He can move. He can make throws on the run. He has a big-time arm. And Daniel Jeremiah and I on the Move to 6 podcast always talk about this with young quarterbacks that pop. There are 3 Ps: play caller, protection, and playmaker. Play caller, Pat Shermer comes over for the Giants. He has an upgrade in play caller. Playmaker, KJ Hamler, Jerry Jeudy. They give him more weapons on the outside. The protection will be better because the scheme is better. Drew Lock is going to ball out this year. Colin, you're onto something. He's a fantastic young quarterback.
You know, you may notice I'm onto something a lot. It could be...
easy. Easy.
Bucky Brooks, you'll be back in our studio soon enough. It's great seeing you.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.